You ready to go? All right, I've got 7 o'clock. Good evening, everyone. Welcome to the November Planning Commission meeting. We'll go ahead and start with a word of prayer. Commissioner Bird's will lead us in prayer, and then we'll do the Pledge of Allegiance after that. So please stand.
Heavenly Father, we just thank you for all the blessings that you give us, especially during this week of Thanksgiving. Lord, we're thankful to you for this great city and this planning commission, Lord, and the opportunity that you give us to serve. Lord, help us to be mindful of the health, safety, and welfare of our residents of this great city. Father, just help us to be respectful as we go into the business and be mindful of each and every person here. And Father, I just thank you and praise you in the name of Jesus. Amen.
Amen. Join in the pledge. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. All right, thank you all. Let's go ahead and open our planning commission meeting, and we'll start off with roll call.
Prater.
Here.
Young.
Here.
Bird. Here. Knack.
Here.
Mowdy. Ward.
Here.
Lowe.
Here. All right, we got a quorum. So first item is to accept the meeting minutes from our October Planning Commission meeting. If I got any corrections or revisions to that, please let me know. If not, entertain a motion to approve.
Make a motion.
Got a motion from Commissioner Prater and a second from, was it Knack? Second, all right, great. Roll call, please.
Bird.
Yes.
Prater.
Yes.
Knack.
Yes.
Ward.
Yes.
Lowe.
Yes.
All right, it is 7:02. We're going to go ahead and open up our public hearing. And the first, we have 2 items on the public hearing. And Kim, if you would read off the first one.
454 Diedrich Lane, special use request to allow for an after-school center daycare in O1 zoning. Limits engineering.
All right, Laura, would you give us a staff report, please?
As Kim said, this is a special use permit for 454 Diedrich Lane. If y'all remember, this was a rezone a couple months ago that the owners had brought before the commission to rezone it. They asked for a commercial use, but they decided on an O1 use. So now a new owner has purchased the property and they're wanting to do an after-school center. We're assuming daycare because of the owner currently owns a few daycares, one in Cabot and one in Austin. So they're just asking for a special use to allow for this type of use within an O1 zoning. As you can see in the staff report, there are a few things that the commission just needs to take into consideration. The staff doesn't have any issues with this type of special use in this zoning. If you have any questions, I can answer anything right now. Here again, it's just a special use. The site plan will be coming before you next month if this is approved.
Okay, thanks, Laura. Is the applicant here? Tim? Come up, is there anything you want to add to that?
Actually, no, I'm just here to answer questions. My name is Tim Lemons, I'm engineering. Sorry, I had a Zoom meeting with another planning commission. Thank goodness we didn't have any of Cabot's fines between my house and yours, so I made it. I'm glad to answer any questions you may have.
Okay, thanks, Tim. Any commissioners have any questions? Does anyone here speak against this? Anybody against this item? All right, seeing none. Any other discussion from the commissioners? If not, I entertain a motion. Motion to approve from Commissioner Lowe. We have a second from Commissioner Ward. Roll call.
Byrd,
Yes.
Prater,
Yes.
Knapp,
Yes.
Ward,
Yes.
Lowe,
Yes.
All right, that special use request is approved. All right, next item on the agenda.
amendments to the Code of Cabot, Chapter 18, flood damage prevention.
So Laura, you've got some amendments to review.
Yes, these are not codes that are within the UDC. These are actually a separate code that is within the codes of Cabot. So what this is just a separate section that is within the city's codes. And this is actually addressing flood damage prevention. All these codes are these revisions that are within the code are bringing our flood damage prevention code, bringing it into compliance with the FEMA regulations, and that the city will be able to use base level engineering software along with the FEMA's mapping to identify special flood hazard areas within the city. These revisions will also help with methods that are used to help reduce flood losses as well as any typos that were currently within this code. So I can fix those as well. That is the main changes that are done within these codes. I know there's a lot of language within them. We changed or we revised, I think, some of the definitions just for clarification, but mainly it helps so that the planning as well as city engineers can use the base level engineering to help establish or help with identifying special flood hazards.
Thanks, Laura. So I see that most everything is highlighted in red in the packet that's changed is
Correct.
to clarify the revisions to the code.
I do that for everybody's notification, make it easy so you don't really have to read through every word of it. I put what the current code is, and in the next section, I highlight in red either what is either taken out, what is revised, or what is added and changed.
And I'm assuming Ben took a look at it too from a legal standpoint, where everything looks good.
Yes, sir, I did, and it does, like Laura said, it's stating because it's compliant with the new regulations. I am.
All right, thank you all. Commissioners have any questions? Now I entertain a motion to approve the code amendments. Thank you, Commissioner, appreciate that. Since this is in the public hearing, any questions or comments from the public on code amendments? All right, then I'll go ahead and get a motion to approve from Commissioner Lowe. Have a second.
Second.
Commissioner Prater with the second. Roll call, please.
Byrd,
Yes.
Prater,
Yes.
Knapp, Ward,
Yes.
Lowe,
Yes.
All right, those amendments are approved. Thank you, Ronnie, for keeping me out of trouble. All right, it is 7:08. We're going to go ahead and close the public hearing, and we'll go into the Planning Commission's new business. And Kim, if you would read the first one.
final plat, Denali Heights, Lemons Engineering.
We'll start off with our staff report from Laura first.
This is a final plat for the subdivision Denali Heights. It is located at the corner of New Country and Campground. It is 34 lot, single family residential subdivision. It's located on approximately 14 acres. As you remember, this final plat, or I'm sorry, the preliminary plat was brought before y'all. I believe it was earlier this year. There are some, as you can see in the staff reports, some still outstanding items that need to be addressed. Some of them are minor. Some of them are a little bit more intense than others. I did drive by the site yesterday. As of yesterday morning, there was not any asphalt down. There was also still some sidewalks that had not been installed on New Country and Campground that still need to be installed. There's been some issues with, some sediment leaving the site as well. We've spoken with the contractor to get this taken care of, and that's not been addressed, here as of yesterday. So we do have some, adverse impact that has been caused downstream from this development as this development's happened. So I think we do need to address that, or it needs to be addressed by either the engineer or the developer needs to address how that's going to be taken care of.
Okay, is that it, Laura? All right, thanks. Tim?
I went by the site late this afternoon, and they have begun placing the asphalt. When are they planning that asphalt? Tomorrow. Okay. So the asphalt will be completed tomorrow. On the sidewalks, there was a little bit of sidewalk that was not built exactly as per the plans. That was being torn out earlier today and being replaced. So sidewalk should be complete tomorrow as well. And as far as the sediment leaving the site, ADQ did come out and do an inspection a couple of weeks ago. And this was after we had like about a 6-inch rain in about an 8-hour period, which is pretty substantial rain. And actually, I wasn't there, but I believe the contractor and maybe Mike, one of the owners, did talk to the representative of ADQ, and their concern wasn't so much about the sediment. They said actually that we were doing a pretty good job because we've got 10 acres that's dirt, you know, and so it's hard to maintain that. But their issue was they wanted us to our ADQ mailbox has been stolen 3 times out there. So somebody had just stolen it like a day or two before when they came out. So the only issue that they were cited for was to put a new mailbox up, which has been done. I will say this, what I saw today, they've got silt fence lining the street, all the way around the street. And they've got, they do have silt fence and a rock check dam going down the east, or what would be on the east side of New Country where the drainage all goes to. And the silt fence did appear to me to be doing its job. I went across the street and I looked, and there was wasn't enough sedimentary to cause sediment across the street where it had exited our culvert and gone onto the property that butts up behind the mini storage building. But I can just take what I saw today, so that's what I witnessed today. And as far as ADQ, they have not received any fines or any warnings. So as far as the silt, it's what would normally be experienced in a project like this. But of course, having a 6-inch rain in an 8-hour period, that kind of taxes everything. So I'd be glad to answer any questions. And if I can answer a question, Mike or Tim, I'm sure we'll be glad to jump up.
What about the one
Yeah, I know some residents are here to speak to this, so I'm going to suspend the rules. Normally, we don't do sort of conversations, Q&A during the site plan, but we'll go ahead and suspend the rules and let one or two of you guys have comments or questions. You would come up to the podium, state your name, your address, and give us a couple minutes.
My name is Linda Johnson. I live at 1661 Campground Road, which is right there close to New Country. I'm the 3rd house down from New Country. I do have a folder of pictures of the damage that is done, the rain is done, and I would like to pass these out.
Sure. Yeah, if you would mind, go ahead and pass those out. Thank you.
Ma'am, could I have a copy of the. We'll give it to the engineer.
As you can see from the pictures in here, which I have labeled by numbers, this was the water that we received after a 4-inch rain, which was the one prior to the one in September the 28th, that was 6 inches. And also, before I get too far along here, there is a map that shows you where the houses are and how everything runs. This property sits on a natural stream, natural spring. But this flood water was behind the house of my next door neighbor, Miss Agnes Wiley, who said she couldn't be here tonight, but her son is here and her son-in-law. This is water that they received. And on page, picture 3 and 4, this is a culvert that it goes under the drive. It is the driveway on picture number 4. This picture was taken as of Sunday. It is still full of water because it is stocked up with red clay and debris that has washed down on us. Picture number 5 is this is 541, which is when you just pass Blooming Ridge going up towards New Country. There is a gray mobile home there. This was the front yard of that mobile home. So as you can see, there's a lot of water that we've got. And then number 7 is driveway 1553, which this runs out, almost out to Campground Road. So does number 5 picture runs almost out to Campground Road. Number 9 and 10 are ditches that's in my back field that have been there for years. And we've never, ever had a problem with water like this. I have lived here 27 years, and I've never had water come up in my back field like this. And what most people don't understand is we are not city, so therefore we have to use septic tanks, and our field lines goes out to these fields. So when this water is coming in, eventually it's going to get into our field lines. And what's going to happen? We will not be able to use our bathrooms, do laundry, wash your clothes, or anything. But that's, that is unfortunate for us, I guess, because we're not in the city. Number 13, if you look at that, this is standing from the middle of Campground Road, pointed down towards New Country. And if you can see on number 14, there's a gravel spot here in the very front of New Country. That is where they have put Cabot City Sewer to this new subdivision that they're wanting to develop. Number 15 is down by the storage sheds that is on, the storage sheds are on county property. That's a county road. New Country is a county road. And as you can see, going down there is no ditches part. And number 16 is where the culvert is, the big culvert that they ran from the subdivision side of the road underneath New Country and put the drainage there behind the storage shed. Which is, it's eroding our land away. And you can see that in number 17. This is a ditch there in front. It's on the side road at on New Country. This ditch has already started to erode. There's humps out of the ditch. Number 18 is the large pipe that they put under the road. And this is on the side away from the subdivision. And as you can see, there's some rocks there. those rocks are not stopping the water. I mean, I'm sorry, they don't. And if you look at number 19, you can see again, there is some rocks there, there's not a lot, but they're not stopping anything. They're not stopping the mud and the debris that's coming across that road under that pipe. Number 20 is, this is what the west side of New Country Road looked like prior to them doing any of the reconstruction of a water break. You can see, we don't have a problem. We didn't have a problem with this before that came in. Number 21 is on the side with the subdivision. It is, the water is, instead of it, water will flow uphill, as we all know this. So when it's coming out of the subdivision, it is running downhill, which is towards the large pipe that they have placed in under the road. Number 22 is where the culvert is coming out of an entrance that is in the subdivision on the side of New Country. And you can see there's water standing in that ditch from this last inch rain we had. So if we get another 2 or 3 inches or 4 inches, it's going to do the same thing it's been doing, flooding us out. Number 23, if you look, it's the last page. If you look at that, that is the ditch. They have a large pipe running out from under the construction site, pointed straight to the large pipe that is under New Country Road that is coming over on the west side of New Country, which is hitting our property. And like I said, I've been there 27 years. I've never seen water stand like this. Normally, it does run on and off and everything. And you have should be another piece of paper in there. It shows the way the water drainage runs behind this house.
Thank you, Ms. Johnson. Yeah, appreciate that explanation. Is there anybody else from the neighborhood that would like to speak? And I'll give it back over to the applicant. Sure. Yes, sir. Come up here and state your name and your address, please.
My name is Jack Wiley. I'm the son of the lady who lives at 1601 Campground Road. She's 89 years old, so therefore she had hearing impaired, so therefore she wasn't able to come to basically represent herself. So I'm here trying to represent my mom. So, but this property that was in question here, my parents or my family has been involved in this property for 140 years. We used to own the land that they're subdividing now, back years ago. But anyway, I'm 67 years old, and I've been playing on this place all my life. And I've never in my life seen the magnitude of water that they're pushing toward us right now, coming down, the way it is. Yes, I've seen flooding in there, don't get me wrong, but I've never seen it to this magnitude. So the only thing we're asking is to help us, take care, alleviate, so don't just totally wash our place away. That's what's going to happen if it's left like it is. Thank you.
Thank you, Jack. Appreciate it. So we'll shift it back up. Yes, ma'am.
And I would like to say one other thing. I have contacted Judge Irwin and the people there. They have both been out. They have walked the property that we are on. And they are both all over the state. This will not, it's not suitable for the drainage. Their drainage needs to be done some other way because they're coming down the hill and this division they're putting down, starts up here hill, and then it comes down to the division, which is lower. And then it comes across the road, that's a little bit lower. and the next house is a little lower, and the next house is a little lower. So all they're doing is just running the water downhill, which is the only way it can run. But Judge Irwin and the FEMA person said this is not satisfactory.
Okay, all right, thank you, Ms. Johnson. So I'm gonna say a few things and then ask the commission if they got any questions, but then we'll let the applicants talk about some of the solutions. But I'm gonna go back to, it was January is when this first came up to the planning commission for a preliminary plat approval. It passed approval. There was at the end of the discussion, I believe I asked Brian to take a look at the drainage calculations to confirm that the drainage calculations prove that what is being presented and designed is not going to cause any problems. And since then, Brian, I believe, discovered that there is a detention pond was required, and that went out in an email back to Tim Lemons, correct, Laura?
Correct.
And there hasn't been any response or any communication since then. Is that
Correct. I don't remember getting an email saying we need detention. I mean, can I think?
yeah. So I just to put a bow on it.
So I've been all over the property.
All right. So, sir, just come up and state your name if you would.
So my name's Mike Stewart. I'm 50% owner of it, and this is my partner, Tim Hickman. I've walked down so far, not all the way to y'all, and last thing we want to do is get that rental to an acre out. But there are several issues that are here, and I'm not an engineer or anything else. I'm just somebody that's been in construction for 30-some years. And I've helped in multiple subdivisions. I'm on my own dirt business. I'm currently a builder, and I do my own construction stuff as far as excavator work and everything on the houses I do. The water that's running off so fast right now, there's going to be multiple reasons. One, we have no grass because it's a job site. I mean, it's a construction site. And once grass goes back in place, and we already have in place as soon as like they're just now finishing the asphalt. We just got every bit of our silk fence put up, except for a couple of cross boundaries and everything to slow that water down. And we've got 200 pounds of ryegrass put out. We got 40-something bales of straw to put out. And then once grass starts growing, and I know it's not going to make all better and everything, but when vegetation starts growing back and houses are built, it's going to slow that water flow down. The other thing to that right there is right now we still have 2 culverts that are going under New Country. They're the same identical size and everything, just the one hasn't been capped off yet and everything, and it's because of the runoff. So I mean, no disrespect, that they might be getting some extra water right this minute, but we had the study done, and I never heard nothing about retention on that. We have to Tim and everything, because our plat was approved. There's nowhere even on any of the plats that where it shows to have a retention pond. I just, you're the engineer. When the grass and the vegetation comes back, houses are in place, even no houses, all that water from that same property flowed that same spot. We have not changed but where it goes. There's nowhere else on the property. That's the funnel that goes through there. Has it sped up? I'm sure it has. No vegetation. If they let me on the property, I would love to go down there and look at it, or as early as tomorrow morning at daylight and everything. And where we have still, I've walked down so far in the woods with a sharpshooter shovel and just dug little holes and stuff. I mean, I wore my tennis shoes today and everything walking through the woods, me and my son. The deepest I found silt on that upper part behind the mini storage, that deep. And everything, that was only a few spots, even deep through the leaves. If we can get on the property tomorrow and look at what they're talking about, and we can help resolve it, yeah. I mean, the last thing we want to do is create this. I mean, that's not what it's about. It's about advancement. So I'll just leave it at that, and I'll let Tim address it. Unless Tim lets you.
Yeah, the only thing I want to reiterate is, follow up what Mike said. There was an existing metal culvert that was underneath the new country. And I remember when we brought our project before the city said, well, that's a county road, but that culvert needs to be replaced with a concrete culvert, because even though it's a county road, someday you will own that road, and it will be the city's road. So therefore, we wanted to build it in such a way that meets the specifications of the city. And so we put a concrete culvert. We did not put it, we put it at a skew. There's a metal culvert in there that runs like about a 45-degree angle. We put the concrete culvert more perpendicular, just, because it wasn't a low spot on the road. That metal culvert has not been kept. So right now we're getting the flow of two 24-inch culverts. And so once that metal culvert gets capped off, it's going to significantly slow down the water that's coming across the country. And also, to kind of back up what Mike said a while ago, about 40% of the water that falls on that field prior to construction runs off. It has a runoff coefficient of 40%. When we get through with our development, we're still going to be very, very close to that 40%. And that's due to the fact that sod actually only allows about 22% of the water off. And these are oversized lots. Yes, they're going to have a house on them, they're going to have sidewalks and driveways, just like any place else in town. However, these are oversized lots. So therefore, the amount of sod per acre is going to be significantly more than any other subdivision in this area. And if I would like to take exception on the detention. I do recall we discussed whether detention would be needed or not. And in my response, I stated that based on our design report, we did not need detention. The increase was not significant enough, nothing like what these pictures show. But anyway, we got our preliminary plat approved with no detention shown on the plans. So that tells me that we didn't have detention here.
Yeah, Tim, I want to ask Brian to come up and give us his feedback on reviewing that report and what you found.
Thanks, Chad. Brian Vines, Path Associates. We did review those numbers. I actually not looked at that today, back in February. But when we did look at the numbers, we had adjusted some of the coefficients. We had a different opinion of what those coefficients needed to be than what the team used. And we did come up that detention would be required.
Okay. And Laura, you guys did communicate that with Tim shortly after this was found out via email.
Yes, Tim, we had sent an email back on February 8th, let you know that the drainage calculations had been reviewed and that detention was warranted.
Then why did we get permission to continue without detention showing up?
So we gave a preliminary plat approval. And at the end of that meeting, we said that we would review those calculations. We did not make it contingent on, you had approval, you had preliminary plat approval to move forward with that. And at the same time, Brian was doing a comparison to make sure that the drainage calculations were correct. And so now we're seeing that there's an issue at hand because that there's something needs to be addressed. It is a big sloping site, and all that water goes straight down Diedrich Cove, down that flume with nothing to slow the water. You want to elaborate on that?
Sidewalk that was placed along New Country, it's raised up about a foot to a foot and a half above natural ground. We have in fact created some detention on the site. And if you could ask me to run some calculations on that, I'd be glad to do that. However, it was not required. We got our plans when we started construction. If the city saw we weren't building a detention pond, if there was some kind of miscommunication, we should have been told at that time. However, The sidewalk that runs along New Country is elevated anywhere from 12 to 18 inches. There is some detention that is being created. Now, when these rains hit, and the sidewalk was just built in the past 2 weeks. So therefore, you know, it had a chance to prove itself, but it is there. We do have detention now, pretty much by accident, but we do have a detention there because we raised the sidewalk up. And there is a small culvert there that I can assure you is going to detain water onto the back of 2 of the lots. Those 2 lots that I'm talking about are, I can't see the numbers there, but if you're looking at the cul-de-sac, the low spot is the rear of the, if you go to the cul-de-sac and go south to that back lot line that runs east and west.
It's 22 and 21.
Okay, where that back lot line is, that is the low spot, and the water goes across the road right there at the culvert that was installed as per the city's request. And so the area that is low, that is, could be used for detention, is that little part of that lot there, that bigger lot that's on the cul-de-sac. I think you guys know me well enough that if you tell me we got to do something, I might argue if I don't agree, but eventually I do it. I do not remember getting this email telling us we had to do detention, and by our plans being approved and the construction started, and no one ever saying anything about detention until right now. I'm sorry, guys, that doesn't pass much for test.
So Ben, this is the planning jurisdiction. So trying to understand, you know, we don't have any inspection abilities, or there's no basically way for us to guarantee.
You have been.
Yeah,
So
you
you have
have,
to
y'all
go.
did the sewer, y'all did the compaction, y'all did the road, yes. And we jackhammered 20 foot of sidewalk out there, the green light, which I get it, it was the right thing to do, but the sidewalk was gonna offset that point across the street. And everything, we jackhammered 20 foot of sidewalk out, and we're reporting it tomorrow. So yes, we have had a lot of city inspections out there. So.
But my point is, this is planning jurisdiction, not city limit. So Laura, if you can tell me, or Ben, tell me what.
So the differentiation there is they're correct in terms of inspection. City absolutely got there and inspect and all that kind of stuff. The differentiation comes with the enforcement. Your authority on enforcement is great. It's outside the city, you're leaving more than the county. County, which you don't have control. In terms of inspection, they're absolutely correct. Just enforcement.
Okay. Commissioners have any questions of applicants or the community neighborhood members, or Ms. Johnson? We'll give you one last shot.
Well, after the gentleman here was up here, I want everyone to understand.
You can step up to the microphone, Ms. Johnson. You can address the commission.
I want everyone to understand. Well, I'm not against the subdivision. I'm not against the annexation into the city. All we're wanting is to get the water problem fixed. Because once they annex that into the city, are y'all going to take care of our problem? Since it's still county right now. What? That's all I'm asking for is some kind of resolution. So that's all. You know, but if it comes to the city, is that going to fall back on y'all? Or is it going to fall back on the village?
That's a good point.
I mean, that's just how it is. Somebody has got to be responsible. I'm just trying to find out who it is so that I can work with them or whoever to make sure that it gets fixed. I can, you know, I can walk y'all on my property, no problem. I can walk down the neighbor's road. Some of the ditches, the Blooming Ridge subdivision also gets a lot of this water from down. it is for this rain time. So, you know, and the ditches out there need to be clean. You know, until somebody can do something, we're gonna have an issue. Okay? And that is my last.
Thank you, Ms. Jones.
Thank you for your patience.
Yes, thank you. Well, we're all in common agreement on, we're all here to help move our developments along, and we're not against this at all. So we're trying to all push in the right direction. We just want to protect the health, safety, and welfare of our residents and our planning jurisdiction, do the right thing. It just kind of comes back around to, you know, these drainage calculations that just, you know, look like they're marginal, and then we come back and get different feedback. So
I think everybody always tries to do the right thing. I mean, you can do a preliminary plat and you can prove a preliminary plat. You can never predict the amount of rain that one rainfall is going to bring. And I think the thing that we need to do, there is an issue. Yes, the preliminary plat was approved, but now we're in the final phase of the final plat. And there's a problem with drainage. And I think it needs to be corrected to the best of our ability. And, you know, take care of our residents that are backed up to this new subdivision. Yes, there's gonna be grass. Yes, there's gonna be sidewalks to retain. But, I mean, we haven't even seen, since this subdivision was started, the rains that happen in early spring and the amount of water that comes with those rains. I've been a victim of that same issue. And we're here to do the best that we can do to improve our city, add homes, but in the same token, protect our residents that are already here.
I'm also asked the fire marshal, he's on Zoom. Is there anything that you have from looking at the final plat?
No, so there's nothing additional that I have to add.
Okay, thank you. Commissioners have any other questions?
I mean, I think the longer this goes up, I mean, to Tim's point, if it sits out there on dirt, it's just gonna get worse and worse. So sit this, you know, you let it sit around forever, much longer, you're just gonna keep having water issues. We know when vegetation does grow, when they plant sod and more sidewalks, that is gonna help it. But did ADQ, they didn't say anything was wrong with it anywhere? Nobody had that?
I got one warning two warnings for now.
Then also to address Tim's point about the original plan was approved, I think you need to be careful with that. Because we try to push things too quick to help the developer. And so sometimes we'll approve something with a contingency, hey, we may come back with you later. But if you keep coming up and try to push on us that, hey, look, y'all already approved it, well, that just slows the thing down. The next time you bring something to us, we're gonna be like, hold on, Tim, we're gonna put all the eggs, put everything together first. So you need to be careful on that, in my opinion. I'll be there to approve it. But that being said, the longer this sits here waiting, it's just gonna get worse on their yards. I think tonight something needs to be done.
There's requirements to cover grass and stuff like that, they need you for, you can only have it exposed for a certain number of days. Correct?
Yes, and I'm not exactly sure how they look at a development like this, because you can't go in and start 34 houses at once, and that's impossible. But I believe that as long as we are in the process, I believe that after we get all the dirt and everything stabilized, get everything built, everything's backfilled, I believe that there is a certain number of days that we have before we have to start putting seed out and so forth. So, but I don't think we've gotten to that point yet. As long as you're moving dirt, you can't seed it.
Just,
Yeah, Tim, go ahead.
10 million dollars. This was all news to me for sure. And in the interest of moving the project forward, I'm pretty easy to deal with, pretty easy to get along. I understand there's a problem. Buying equipment, excavators. Mr. Bird, you said to the best of our ability, right? Okay. Some of this is all news to me. And I will do my best to fix the problem. In that verbiage, okay, but I would like to move along. We have lots, so we've got, I mean, you know, we want to continue on with progress. And I think continuing on with progress is not going to make the problem worse by any means. I do not. And I'm not going to walk out of this meeting and say, that's not, yes, I would not say that. I will fix it to the best of my ability. Okay, beyond equipment. We've come this far, and we would love residents, you know, we would, you know, we have plans to, like Stuart said, we've elevated a sidewalk that we really did for aesthetics, for looks, you know, we didn't want it dipping down and coming back up, that it caused detention. You know. And I'm not as versed as a lot of this is, you know, I'm new to this, but I will say that when we leave here today, if there's anything that we could do, we go plan to cap off the culvert as well, reduce the amount of water as fast as it goes right now. There's two culverts same size, so we abandon that culvert. We do on equipment. I have zero issues with helping them and helping our residents do something with the engineering and lemons to fix it to the best of our. So that's all.
What do you think can be done in the next 10 days?
It's a holiday weekend.
10 days, how long do you celebrate the holiday?
Can we start from Monday by chance?
Can it rain? We block all.
I'd like to see it tomorrow. Sure. The culvert blocking off, I mean, that's an easy fix that we can serve. I mean, absolutely. As far as the equipment, getting it back there, development plan, whatever it takes, you know what I mean, to fix it to the best of our.
Laura, what about that retention area that you were talking about? The email that was sent with the new calculations and stuff that were done after we approved the preliminary plat.
Was there a design? I
Was
guess
there a
it's-
design, or is that something that,
What was sent along with the email was drainage calculations that was done from half. I just attached the drainage calculations that they did in the differences that they showed compared to what was submitted.
So Tim, I appreciate your comments, and you know, one of the things that I'm concerned about is if it gets approved as a preliminary or as a final plat tonight, there's no way that the city can enforce anything. So this meeting is the only assurance that we have to protect those citizens back there. So that's where I would like to see some real tangible design or engineering to figure out how to slow the water creatively. And I don't know if maybe even an underground cistern or underground, some of those underground vaults, they could go back in the back and catch the water before it hits the ditch, something that will hold the water and slow it down, slow the discharge down before it gets to that back area.
Well, actually, I'm not sure about that, but if you will turn to, and by the way, Ms. Johnson, job well done. This is very important, very good. But if you'll turn to page number, or picture number 21. This probably is the solution that we are all looking for. If you notice, it's kind of hard to tell from the shadows, but I think you can kind of get an idea of the sidewalk that runs, that is being shown us, a new sidewalk. the land on the side of the sidewalk that is opposite of the road, not on the road side, but the other side, it's anywhere from 12 to 18 inches lower than the sidewalk itself. So in essence, by them elevating that sidewalk, they have created a detention area. Now, for me to be able to tell you exactly how much water will be detained as to what kind of storm event, I can't do that because we haven't done, haven't done any calculations on that. But I do believe that their pursuit of making something aesthetically pleasing may have actually, in the long run, fixed the problem. But of course, again, getting vegetation on that is paramount to, and getting that old culvert abandoned underneath New Country, those are paramount to fixing these problems. But I'd be more than glad get out there and be next week, but I can get out there next week, shoot some elevations of what we actually have as far as detention, and then get with Hoff and show them what we got. But what I'd like to see happen tonight, if we could, so that if we can get all this worked out the next, 2 weeks, not have to wait another month, if we can get final plat approval contingent upon us meeting the city's okay with what we've got, that would save us a couple of weeks. Would appreciate it.
Okay.
Yes.
For detention requirements, there should be areas set aside that's protected, I understand what Tim's saying, the sidewalks elevated, and that may provide some attention. There's no restriction that can be filled in tomorrow. Or we were building a house, but fills it in.
Right.
And does away with it. There's rules in the detention of what's required and what's required, and I think that really needs to be adhered to.
And
Once this is approved, final plat, there's no.
And actually, with that being said, again, Chad, what is that? Because I can't see it from here, I can't see the numbers. Or the cul-de-sac is, it's a lot that is south, and just a little bit west. What's the number on it?
22 is straight ahead. 21 is a little bit.
21 is the bigger
It
lot.
is 21 is south of the cul-de-sac, and then 22 is due west.
Okay. 21 is an oversized lot, and ironically, the area where the sidewalk is elevated would be the southwestern part of that lot number 21. So there wouldn't be any problem with us putting an easement on the area back there that we set aside for detention. Wouldn't be any problem at all. We could do that before we file the plat, and in the bill of assurance, state that detention easement shall stay as it is, so we can protect that. That'd be the same as what we got with Autobrook or any other subdivision we done late. We had a detention, we made an easement part of the lot so that the lot owner would be mowing it in the mowing their yard. We'll do the same thing here.
Brian, thoughts? We'll look at civil folks. I'm just a dumb architect. So
Obviously, we want to see the calculations and how the water release. See how it will be released, but maybe it's.
Laura, does that sound like a good plan to you guys?
So Tim, are you suggesting that detention pond would be installed in the rear of that lot?
On that
No, I
one,
think it's-
yes, I
Nailed
believe
down,
that lot has square footage that we need to put some type of detention in there. Definitely it's an option. I don't see the reason why we should even take any more in. I don't think we're gonna need that many square footage. I'll have to go back to what Paul was saying on our visions, bear that in mind, but it's definitely doable.
Okay, just want to make sure that we're all on the same page for that.
So it sounds like we have a direction from my notes. If we do approve this as a final plat, that we have assurances from the development team and Lemons Engineering that they would provide a detention easement at the back of lot 21, and that the completion of the asphalt and sidewalks and other staff-related contingencies would be approved, or that approved based on those contingencies. Does that make y'all satisfaction? Sound amenable to residents? Yeah, no, we just kind of, we remember you, Jack.
Well, I'm definitely no engineer, but in looking at, if it's a pot that I'm thinking of, that's still uphill where the main body of water is coming in. So I can't personally. And I'm not totally agreeing with this, but I helped put in wastewater treatment plants. So we always get the lowest area of the whole place. With our, so now we got a real water problem. Trying to get crap run uphill. But nonetheless, I don't see a full solution in what they're proposing, you know, as far as maintaining a lot of water, because that's a deal for where all the water can be coming anyway. A lot of the other water is coming from the other side. So I mean, still gonna be a lot of water issue. It may help a little bit, but I can't see things to stop what we've seen already.
You're talking about Denali Lane? Denali Lane.
I can't see that at all, but I mean, can I walk forward?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
Yes.
Denali Lane's the one that ties into New Country.
Okay, oh, yeah, I got you. So the one below that then is the one. I thought he said it was in the cul-de-sac.
So we were talking the cul-de-sac 21, yeah, which is just above that entrance from New Country.
Okay. I don't, and again, I'm not really opposed to anything that's going on. I just know what my mom was building it. That was coming down so hard, that it got underneath that building and moved it some. You know, and again, I go back to the situation where I've been around the place for 6 or 7 years. I've never seen that magnitude of water come by. And I understand what they're saying too, about grass inside and all that will help slow down. But I also know that when they got that on plan, they got all that water that's coming, even above that, is channeled down to that pole. Where it's gonna not just take the water from this spot, it's gonna bring the water from above down there with it as well. So, you know, in the end, I'm not going to go there for a while. My mom is not old, 89 years old, and she is worried sick about this washing her land. You know, bless her heart. I get it too, you know, that's part of my heritage too as well. But anyway, all we're asking really is for some help in trying to, you know, lessen that problem. I know water runs down, that's not, you know, you can't stop. The way it looks to me, they've got it all channeled into one direction, into a ditch that was never designed to be a ditch. It was only designed, my dad hand dug that out there in order just to drain the water off our property. Not everybody's above us. But anyway, again, like I say, I'm just hoping we can get some help. And my mom's not a wealthy person. But what I'm seeing here, it's going to cost her possibly culverts in order to put in bigger culverts to hold the water. We've always had, I think, an 18 or 20, and it's always taken care of the water problem. But obviously, that's not the case anymore. The other day, just after a 1-inch rain, it was over the ditches. So that's all I'm asking is, you know, make sure we don't get pushed aside just because, you know, we're just little people.
Sure. Thanks, Jack. Yeah, at the intersection of Denali Lane and Denali Cove, there are inlets that take the water that are coming from up above that down in channel that down below into those ditches. One question I had for Joe Gunderman is there any plans to improve ditches along campground? I know that's county on that side, it's city on the other side. Is there?
Not the immediate future, I'm sure like everything else, the next several years, we'll maybe go expansion out there. The only thing we do basically is annual maintenance, cleaning, and the rest of the road, or expanding.
At this point, would it be the judges, county judges, area to do any type of work in there? All right, commissioners. Any better ideas?
I mean, essentially, you've taken a lot of sheet load, generalized it to one point right here, with the subdivision, and I think there's not a magic solution to that. I mean, detention isn't something they can do to help, but it's not a magical solution.
And there is no way the wand and the magical solution just pops out of the jar. I mean, it's not gonna happen. But I would like to point out that the biggest issue out there, as I see it, is there's two culverts underneath New Country, where there should only be one. We take the old culvert out of commission, I believe it's gonna make a big difference, but it means, yet again, if we, to get us off center, if we can do some detention there on that lot number, I think it was 21, again, I can't read that, but the area I'm talking about. But one thing I do want to point out, all this property has always drained to that old culvert that goes underneath New Country. We're not changing any water courses at all. Everything is drained the same way that it's always drained. That is a little hot spot.
You're just supposed to control.
Which culvert are you talking about? Are you talking about the one right next to the campground, or are you talking about the one next to?
One is the very.
By the sword pit? In that culvert you have on, between 4,
Yeah, I'm gonna go ahead and, commissioners, any other questions or not? I'm gonna go ahead and move on.
You look at this point. There is no drain, there's no culvert, there is no nothing. That was taken last year in the summer. There's nothing there, but I don't know where he's getting it with the culvert. There is no culvert.
It's still out there. Just hadn't been.
Okay. All right, I think we'll go ahead and I'm gonna call for the vote here. If I can get a motion. I've outlined some ideas on what it sounds like some amenable solutions are, but you guys are the ones that are gonna vote. I'm not voting. So I'd entertain a motion.
On behalf of, I really think the community and the developer, I think we need to figure out a way to move forward to help stop the water. Reluctant, because Tim's gonna hope us to say we approved it, even though we left it to contingency, so I'm a little reluctant to that. But how would you make a motion that I'll be willing to, but contingent on trying to address this?
I had it here on my notes. We talked about Tim adding a detention easement, and that some of the other staff contingencies were to go ahead and finish the asphalt and sidewalks for final plat approval.
I would make a friendly amendment to meet the detention ordinance.
To meet.
Instead of 7 even.
My allegation doesn't be right.
Is that the form of a motion?
So moved.
I got a motion to approve.
Second.
And a second. Roll call vote, please.
Bird,
No.
Prater,
No.
Knapp,
Yes.
Ward,
Yes.
Lowe,
Yes.
All right, that is 3-2, and the yeses have it. So the final plat is approved with those contingencies. And so I do hope that we can do a good job on making sure that the water does not impact the residents. So hope to hear some good feedback on how that's corrected in the next couple of weeks, the next 10 days per Commissioner Ward.
Swap some cell phone numbers.
I just asked for a pen, my business card.
All right, next item is community input. Does anybody have any other input we'll talk about today? All right, I think we've all exhausted all that. All right. So if I can go ahead and get a motion to adjourn.
Well, I had some community input.
Oh, wait, we got some community input.
We have been approving a lot of multifamily developments. And we've had some issues with fencing and stuff within some of those developments. And I would like to propose us looking into, since we've made a lot of revisions to our code, to look into maybe changing our code to increase the height of side yards and rear fences that abut to single-family developments for multifamily and commercial to be 8 foot. And also for those fences to be permitted. And the reason being is because the fences right now are not permitted. And we've had issues in the past having to grant variances to residents who have built their fences too high. And we cannot enforce code if we don't have something in place, like a permit to, it's on us in that situation. But I think it would greatly help our residents and the city of Cabot if we looked at making some changes to our fence code.
Laura, could you help look into that and give us some feedback, either December or January meeting?
Are you in essence asking to permit fences?
I think we require a permit for a storage building. I think we should require a permit for a fence, even if it's a $25 permit. Because when nobody has to have a permit to build a fence, and they go in and build a 7-foot fence in a residential area and our code says 6 foot, then how do we enforce that code?
If they build a 7-foot fence and we come upon a 7-foot fence, code enforcement notifies them of what our code is, that they cannot build a 7-foot fence. So in essence, they would either have to fix the fence, or you are correct, come before you for a variance to leave the fence. I'm extremely reluctant on permitting fences. That opens a lot up. And to be completely honest, my office does not have time to go and enforce permits for fences, because there are, just like all other construction companies, fences can be thrown up in a day. We've gone down this road before for permitting of fences, and it was cut off at council. I would be more than happy to look into it again. I'm afraid I'm going to be cut off again, just to be completely honest. But if I put a permit out for something, I'm going to have to inspect it.
May have a lot of folks that just don't want, more government red tape on.
Absolutely.
Yeah, I disagree. I think most times when somebody builds a 7-foot fence, they probably would be the same person that wouldn't think you're going to get a permit anyways. They just build it, and then you have to go and, follow up with it, so.
I still think we need to look into the possibility of changing our code to 8-foot fences where it commercial and multifamily abuts single-family residential, because we've had some issues about that.
I agree with that idea. I think that's a zoning change.
But what we need is a statement standard. You know, as we saw on Pond Street there, we may have missed some kind of barrier for that apartment. But we're gonna end up with an 8-foot fence, a 7.
Yeah.
It's getting crazy. We need to look at that a little closer. When we approve these apartments.
Yeah, and anytime we do something like that, I'd rather we get a little heavier with the landscape ordinance and those than a fence, just because it's a longer lasting, you know, especially if it's evergreens or something. So maybe it's a combination or look more at the landscape.
Do y'all go enforce how they keep up their landscape? Do you enforce how they keep up their landscaping too?
Yes.
Just the grass.
Just
Not the bushes.
Right. Not necessarily in the bushes.
True, but on the fences, they are required to keep the tree. The trees are required to stay. They have to give a 1-year guarantee, and then they're required to maintain them as well. But on, Chad, as you said, on multifamily up against R1 zoning, there is a landscape, it is within the landscape code that they do have to require landscaping between them. So we have, just like the one on Palm that you're referring to, they do have the buffer there that they are putting in along the residential development on the north side of it and on the west side of it. So that is a requirement for multifamily up against residential.
Right. To my point would be to increase density across that, just so that we wouldn't have the visibility. If it was evergreens and they're a lot denser spacing, it would be a lot better of a more aesthetic, you know, buffer between the two than just a 8-foot fence. Or
how long does it take for that landscaping to grow when they clear it off and then put it back in though?
years.
Well, they have to install the trees.
Yeah.
I mean, that's part of the requirements in order for them to get COs and built, they have to have the landscape installed.
Yeah, for it to get mature though. All right, anything else? Anyone else? Got a motion? All in favor, say aye. All right. Y'all have a good Thanksgiving. I'll see y'all in December.